Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Let's go back 50 years and talk about some great unsung albums from 1975. I'm going to start off here with just a really fine album by the band Poco. And it's their first album for ABC Records after leaving Epic Records. A fine album called Head Over Heels. Starts off with this song by Timothy B. Schmidt called Keep On Trying, which just highlights the impeccable harmonies that Poco had at one time. It's just an incredible track. This album is also notable for a track called Dallas that Steely Dan wrote and recorded back in '72. That was the initial first single released by Steely Dan, but it was a flop single, Dallas. And then on the flip side is just an incredibly good tune called Sail the Waterway. But Rusty Young, steel guitar player Poco, lays down his first vocal on a Poco album on Steely Dan's Dallas. So that is really cool. It's a great tune, great version. But yeah, I mean, you could kind of tell like maybe the execs there at ABC were saying, you know, we need a hit out of you guys. You know, you've released like what, over a half a dozen albums on Epic. They've sold moderately, but you haven't had like a huge hit yet. That wouldn't happen with this album. A couple years later, they'd have a huge album and hit. The hit would be Crazy Love, sung by Rusty Young. And then the album was a huge hit too. So it was called Legend. So they were on their road to a little bit of our commercial acceptance, but this was not the album. But this is a fine overlooked album in the Poco discography. Head Over Heels from '75. Here's an album that I remember in high school, junior high, people used to talk about this album all the time. I never see anybody talk about it on YouTube, hardly anymore. And it's the first album by the Tubes on A&M Records. So I think most people that listened to radio back in the day in the 70s, 80s know White Punk's on Dope. That's on here. Another track that got a little bit of airplay was called What Do You Want From Life, with this really cool demented coda. But the rest of the album just holds up really well. Is this art rock? Is it proto-punk? What is it, right? It's a little of everything. Up From the Deep, Space Baby is great. Boy Crazy, Mondo Bondage. Back in '09, my wife and I were on a road trip going up north, Sausalito, San Francisco, the Redwoods, etc. On the way back, we stopped in Santa Cruz for a night. And at that time, I don't know if they still do, on the boardwalk of Santa Cruz, they have free concerts during the summer. And we just happened to be there when the Tubes were playing a free concert. So we sat there in the sand watching the Tubes, and it was a fantastic show. They played songs from this album. They had some of their 80s hits like, what is that one? She's a Beauty. And was fantastic. Fee Waybill puts on a fantastic show. It would have been great to see them in their heyday in the 70s, you know, late 70s, but it was still a fine show. So anyway, the Tubes, the debut album, fantastic stuff. 1975. How about a fantastic jazz vocal album? The songwriting on this album is stellar. The playing is stellar. All amazing jazz players. I'm talking about Michael Frank's The Art of Tea. This is his debut for the Reprise label, Warner Brothers. So this is not really my kind of music, jazz, like this real soft, what do you want to call it, smooth jazz perhaps? I hate that title. But the songs are what save this album. And the playing. The songs are just stellar. Now, he had a semi-minor hit with Popsicle Toes off this album, which other people have covered. But the whole album, I think, is absolutely flawless all the way through. Some people may not like his softer than soft vocal. It's almost like a whisper. But I think it adds a lot of weight to these songs. He's a great lyricist. You've got stellar musicians on here. You got Joe Sample on keyboards, Wilton Felder on bass, and you got, of course, Larry Carlton. So it's almost like a semi-Steely Dan session in a way. So some of the highlights on here, I mean, pretty much the whole album. It starts off with Night Moves. In the second track, Eggplant is fantastic. Monkey See, Monkey Do has a nice little groove to it. St. Elmo's Fire, the last track on side one, I Don't Know Why I'm So Happy, I'm Sad, is fantastic. Just a stellar side of music. And the second side, too, starts off with Jive, really nice groove into Popsicle Toes. Sometimes I Just Forget to Smile, and Mr. Blue, just this sad little tune ending the album. So, again, stellar songwriting. I'm not really into smooth jazz, but this is an exception because I love great songs, and they're all over this album. So if you've never heard it, check it out. Michael Frank's The Art of Tea. And then, by the way, A couple years later, he released, I think, his best album. It's an absolute masterpiece called Sleeping Gypsy. We'll talk about that album in another video, but right now we're highlighting 75, The Art of Tea, Michael Franks. When people talk about The Who, it's always Who's Next, or it's Tommy, or it's, you know, not many people talk about Who by numbers. This is a very unsung Who album, and I love The Who. I love the 60s stuff. I love the 70s stuff. And some people kind of say this may be more of a Pete Townsend kind of solo album, and I get that. These songs are more personal. Songs like Imagine a Man, pretty kind of deep for Pete Townsend. Another song like How Many Friends, just lyrically great. Slip Kid is a fantastic mid-tempo rocker that starts off the album. That song got a little bit of airplay, and of course, the huge hit on here, Squeezebox, was like an AM hit. But that's the worst track on the album. You've got John Entwistle's Success Story, which was featured, excuse me, in the Kids Are All Right movie, where he's throwing out gold records and he's shooting them with a machine gun. They play that over that particular video in the movie. Such a great film. Kids Are All Right. They Are All in Love, Blue, Red, and Gray. In a Hand or a Face ends the album. This is a fantastic, fantastic album. Not many people talk about. It's the second to last album that Keith Moon was on, the last being the Who Are You album. But I've always had a place for this. I think it's fantastic. The Who by Numbers from 1975. JT, James Taylor, cranking out album after album, year after year in the 70s, and all pretty fairly good. I don't think really, most of his albums don't really compare to Sweet Baby James. That's just an absolute masterpiece. But all of these albums had great songs throughout most of the 70s catalog. I'm talking about Gorilla from 75. Has the huge hit on it, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You by Marvin Gaye. But that's, to me, the least greatest song on here. It's got Mexico, which is just a fantastic opening track. And Wandering is beautiful. There's another track on here called Lighthouse. Another one called Love Songs and Sarah Maria. Not a perfect album, but I'd say 3/4 really, really strong songwriting for JT, James Taylor. Gorilla from 1975, another unsung album. Now, I'm sure a few of you are sick of me holding up this album, but I must, because we're talking about unsung albums from 75. And when you talk about unsung albums from 75, this is probably the most unsung and most lauded album of 1975. I'm talking about one of my favorite Kinks albums, Soap Opera. I'll make it brief. This was a life-changing album for me when I was 10. And I didn't know, it was kind of prophetic in a way, because I didn't know I was going to be working for 33 plus years in an office doing what Norman, the main character, does on this album. So the album is kind of multifaceted in storyline. You've got a rock star wanting to pretend he's a normal person, or is it a normal person pretending to be a rock star? So you got that element, but then you've got the whole concept, the absurdity of working from 8 to 5, which Ray Davies has down to a T. Songs like Rush Hour Blues highlight this whole 9 to 5 insanity. 9 to 5, the song, you know, life is incredibly dull working from 9 to 5. You got the post 5 o'clock blues with When Work Is Over and Have Another Drink on side 1. Side 2 is equally as good. Underneath the Neon Sign is just incredible track. Holiday Romance, You Make It All Worthwhile. This is just an absolute 5-star masterpiece here, along with all their other albums from the 70s. Cannot recommend this highly enough. This is an autograph by Ray Davies. I had him sign this outside the Wiltern Theater in 06 when he did a solo show. I was just reaching my hand over this crowd of people, just hoping he would sign it. He signed it, and when he looked at the album, he said, "Now these are friends." So I was like happy that he said that. He didn't say anything to me, but I just said from afar, "Thank you, Ray." Anyway, and then the album ends with one of their best rockers of all time. You Can't Stop the Music, featuring one of Dave Davies' greatest guitar solos. It's so incredibly thought out. It just has so many great sections in it. It's just an amazing resolve at the end there with the guitar. So I won't go on it anymore. Soap Opera has to be included in this list from 1975. The Kinks. Another one is Chris Squire's Fish Out of Water. Chris Squire from Yes, the bass player. And I think this is one of the better albums from the Yes catalog, shall we say, in the mid-70s. I think I like this more than like Obviously, I like it more than, what is it, Tales from Topographic Oceans. So much bulk on that one. This one, he just kind of sticks to 5 songs, and the arrangements aren't real complicated. His vocals sound very much like John Anderson. Sometimes they kind of sound like Speedy Keen from Thunderclap Newman. But I think it's a fine set of songs. Great playing. You got Bill Bruford on here. Patrick Moraz is on here. Barry Rose. You know, there's nothing real like over the top, like tons of tangents going on. It's pretty straightforward for the most part. Though there are a few tangents, but it's nothing like those kind of mid-70 Yes albums where they're just all over the map, just like, what are they doing? So anyway, a fantastic album here. Chris Squire, Fish Out of Water. This is his first solo album, and I think he put out one more in the early 2000s, but this is pretty much it for his solo career. Last on the list today is Loudon Wainwright's Unrequited album. This is his last album for Columbia Records. Now, half of this album is studio, but the highlight of this album is the second side. It's live, and I think it's recorded in... It's recorded at the Bottom Line at Remote by Record Plant, New York City, August 30th, 31st, September 1st, 74. Just some great songs on side 2. On the Rocks, Guru. He really, really is a great performer, humorist, actor. You know, he was in a few episodes in MASH. He's played in other shows. Just a really unique songwriter. I love his first 3 albums from the 70s. Loudon Wainwright 3, number 1, 2, and 3. All solid records. This one too, fantastic. He even does a version of Old Friend, which is off of his album 2, which is a flawless album. Then it ends with Rufus is a Tit Man, which he's talking about his son, Rufus Wainwright, who was just a baby at the time. So good, entertaining stuff. Side 1 studio, side 2 live in 74. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Unsung Records from 1975. If you have any more, throw them in the comments section. As always, thanks for watching. If you dig the content across the channel, press subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.